We are pushing back. We are talking about how we are the economy, but the economy does not work for us. It's what it is. We are the economy. Literally, without millions of Americans being skillful, working hard, doing their job every single day, we would not have the riches and the innovation that we have in America currently. But the people in charge, they make sure that we are barely scraping by. Because if we are barely scraping by, then they have control over us. They have power over us. If we're barely scraping by, then we have to go work that double shift that the boss asks us to come work. If we're barely scraping by, then we have to accept that crappy job because we are just a few weeks away from savings. Why is it that 40 hours a week doesn't cover the basics? If you are feeling this too, drop a me in the chat. If you also feel like working 40 hours a week does not cover the basics, let's all hear it, because they make us feel alone. They make us feel isolated. And it sucks because this shows us right here that it's not just us, that it's quite literally everybody. The cost of living is higher than the average salary. And then they blame us for that. Who here has blamed themselves for their financial hardships? Where you got to work early, you stayed late, you busted your ass every single day. You went and you asked for a raise after making more money for the company. And then you ask them for a raise and they tell you no. Why is it that every single one of us has gone through that? Well, that's because it's not just a few of us making bad decisions. That's what they say. You made a bad decision. You're not working hard enough. You should go get more skills. And it's like, I just did what I was told to do. I did what I was supposed to. I studied hard. I played by the rules. I busted my butt. And I'm still falling farther behind. And they make it like it's normal. When we say, hey, I'm working 40 hours a week and it doesn't cover the basics, people get mad, like you're doing something wrong. Like it's our fault that working 40 hours a week doesn't cover the basics anymore. Because that's really what I want to do, is just have a conversation, is just wonder why people get so upset about this. That's what Steamroller, I don't know why you get ticked, because it's clear that America is not in its golden age anymore. And what you want is for us to just sit back and allow the billionaires to take over control. But it's very simple. It's very easy what is going on if you have your eyes open. Because the reason that 40 hours a week doesn't cover it anymore, the reason that cost of living is putting the majority of Americans through an affordability crisis isn't because we're doing anything wrong. It's not because people are lazy. It's not because they forgot how to budget. What it really is that the ultra wealthy took over the economy and then they confused people as to what the actual problem is. Because basically stuff got worse. What's up, Red Pill? Stuff got worse. Drop a me, y'all. If you're working 40 hours a week and are still falling farther behind, drop a me. Because it's all of us that feel this way. And they try to lie to us and trick us. I'm sick of it. I am sick of it and I'm pissed off. Because they tell us that this is our fault. That the cost of living is higher than the average salary. But we don't control the cost of living. We don't control what the cost of food is, what the cost of healthcare is, what the cost of housing is. Guess who control that? The ultra wealthy, the 1%. The same people that control the prices are the same people that control the salaries. So they would be the people that are responsible for making the cost of living higher than the average salary. Why are Americans under 40 the first generation in our country's history to be worse off than our parents? Why is it that so many of us are working 40 hours for a company whose stock price we can see goes up and up and up? But then the salaries of the employees never go up. But the only way that stock price can go up is if the employees are doing a good job and making money for the company. So that's all that we really believe, is that if you do the hard work, if you are working for a successful company, then you should be able to make ends meet. You should be able to afford food. Because this wasn't normal in the previous generation. I know it happened here and there, but the majority of people in the previous generation weren't without savings, right? Weren't without savings. No, the people that are compensated by the price of the company rising, they are not workers. They may be classified as that, but if your pay rises when the value of the company goes up, then you would be classified as an owner. It's really all it is. Because it's not about the work that you do. CEOs aren't there on the assembly line putting the parts together. What the difference is between the people who do the structure or the organization. If your only job is organization, then you are in the owning class. If your job is to actually put the products together, then you're in the working class. That is the difference. That's totally fine. I am an owner of a business, so I know what I'm talking about. I know what this is. The people at the top are looking to underpay their employees and make as much money as possible. They are not trying to say, oh man, if I was one of those workers, if I was paid minimum wage, I would give minimum effort. So if I put myself in the shoes of one of those workers, or if I used to be one of those workers, I know that what I need to do is pay those workers enough to feel empowered. Pay those workers enough so that they know that we value them, because the work that they do is what actually creates the profits for this business. That's what it is somebody doing the work that actually creates the profits for the business. Those are the plumbers going out to the jobs. Those are the people building the houses, not the foreman telling everybody else what to do. It's the ones doing the actual hard work. That's what it is. If you do the hard work, you should get your fair share. Since when did that become controversial? Oh, since billionaires started controlling the media and the narrative, and they spit out all of these lies, explaining how the problems that we all feel are because of immigrants and minorities and people that think differently than you. And they don't actually ever say, well, what about the wealth inequality? What about the fact that 1% of people have as much as 90% of us? Or if American wealth was 10 slices of bread and American citizens were 10 people, that would be one person taking 5 slices of bread, right? One red pill. The reason you can't is because one person is taking 5 slices of bread. Zena, red pill, user of Apple. I appreciate all of you, because dropping those me's lets everybody else know that, hey, this isn't your fault. Red pill, you're working 40 hours a week and you shouldn't be falling farther behind. This shit is not your fault. So what we are doing is we're building a community where we are done being isolated and we're done relying on corporations. We're so sick of being the backbone of this system. It's really what it is. We're the backbone of this system. But we are not paid enough to live. We are not shown our value, even though without us, nothing happens. We are the ones that do the hard work. They take all the money. Because it used to be that we had community-based capitalism. People up top recognize that the health of the business depended on the health of the community. But now they don't care about you. They don't care about your family, and the 1% don't care about your community. That's very obvious, I think, because they put things in our food that aren't food. There are literally microplastics in what we eat. They put sawdust in our Parmesan cheese. The only reason that they would do that is because they don't have any consequences. Can you imagine trying to get a bunch of customers to buy your product, and then you go and you put sawdust in your Parmesan cheese? Well, the only way that you would do that is if you knew that nothing bad would happen to you. Walmart underpays their employees so that every time you walk in, they roll their eyes at you and walk the other direction because they're not paid enough to care. But guess what? This is why competition is so important, because if you could leave and walk out the door and go to another general store, if Walmart actually had a local competitor, well, at one point you'd walk into Walmart, you'd ask that employee a question, they'd roll their eyes and walk away, and you'd say, I've had enough of this shit. I don't care if it's 10% more. I am going to Betsy's General Store down the road. These stinking employees don't give a shit about me because they're not paid enough to care. So I'm going to go down to Robert's General Store where, yeah, it's 10% higher, but at least those employees are paid enough to care, right? That's what it is. At least the employees are paid enough to care. So the economy was actually a huge protector for us, was actually a huge thing that kept the corporations' greed at bay. Because if you walk into somewhere and they treat you poorly and you can't walk out and go to their competitor, well, then they have control over you, right? If you go into Home Depot and Home Depot is the only place that you can buy the lumber that you need, well, Home Depot can treat you however they want and they can charge you whatever they want because you don't have any options. So the competition that we used to have was a huge protector of our economy, because when somebody treated us poorly, we could walk out and we could go to the pharmacy down the street, the general store down the street, the grocery store down the street, the bank down the street. All those are gone. There are no more local general stores that can compete with the corporations. There ain't no grocery stores that can compete with the big ones. There's no hardware stores that can compete with the big ones. And when nobody has to compete over salary, when they know you are locked in to shopping there, they'll treat you however they want. So that is a huge reason why full-time work does not cover the basics. Y'all, if you feel this, drop a me, because what they do is they raise the price of living. Because think, the same people that hire us are the same people that set the prices. So what they are doing is they are simply keeping our prices the same or keeping our salaries the same and slowly raising the prices. Then what do? They make all of us feel like it's our fault. All of these me's. And I bet you we all felt like, they're down there. And I bet you we all felt like it is our fault, right? Who here has been working for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years at the same corporation? You are not able to leave that job because there's not a better job in town. But every time you go and ask for a raise, they make you feel like you're doing something wrong. Well, what? You should be working harder. What, you're having trouble with money? What, $15 an hour isn't enough? And you're just sitting there like, what? The cost of living, just my food, just my rent, and just my car are more than what you pay me every month. But when I go and ask for a tiny bit of raise so I can work harder for you, so I can be more productive for you, you turn it around and blame me. You make me feel like I did something wrong, like I was lazy, like I didn't know how to budget. But when 80% of Americans don't have any savings, that's not people being lazy. That's not people forgetting how to budget. Or let's go back to the bread analogy. If America was 10 people that had 10 slices of bread, the 1%, one person is taking 5 slices. So there's 9 people fighting over 5 slices. So yeah, those 9 people, it doesn't matter how hard they worked. Doesn't matter how good they budgeted. If there are 9 people competing over 5 slices, there will never be enough, right? There will never be enough. And if 9 people are competing over 5 slices, you're going to start fighting each other because you're going to look around and recognize there's not enough. And you're going to say, I'm going to get what my family needs to survive. Because what the people up top are doing is they are cooperating in order to control us. The only way that they can take more and more and more is by working together. So take the cereal companies, right? There's only 3 or 4 cereal companies that we can actually purchase from. Rather than keeping all their cereals at $3 a box, they call up the other Post and Kellogg's, and all 3 of them call each other up and go, hey, rather than $3 a box, if we all raise our prices to $5 a box, we can all make more money, and then none of us get screwed over because we have a lower price, because we have a higher price. So let's just all raise our prices together. And here's the insidious part. They did it to things we need. If they did this to a new radio, we just wouldn't buy new radios. If they did this to clothes, we just wouldn't buy new clothes. If they did this to televisions, we wouldn't buy new televisions. But they do this to our food. What are you going to do? Not buy food? They do this to our health care. What are you going to do? Not buy health care? They do this to our housing. What are you going to do? Not buy housing? You rely on those things. And that's why the corporations control us. That's what this is. It's the fact that they control the things that we need to live. And as long as they control our food, our housing, and our healthcare, the minimum wage will never go up. No legislation will be put in place that helps the people, because the politicians, their campaign, who their campaign is funded by, that's who they work for. And we all know their campaign is funded by the ultra wealthy and the corporations. So the politicians don't work for us. Courtney, I appreciate you dropping that me. The reason we do that is because not only do they literally make the cost of living higher than the average salary, they blame us for it, don't they? They literally are like, hey, it's not that the cost of living is higher than the average salary. It's that you're lazy. It's that you didn't know, you didn't budget hard enough. You didn't work hard enough. And that's why we drop the me's, right? Because that way we don't feel as isolated. That way we don't feel alone. Because if just us think we're doing something wrong, then we're like, man, what am I doing wrong? What is going on? What is happening? But then what if somebody else goes, no, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I'm in the same spot too. And everybody goes, and I'm in the same spot too. And so am I. And so am I. And so am I. Then you stop feeling bad about yourself, and you start wondering what the hell is wrong, right? Well, I think we've all been in that place for a long time. That's why the ultra wealthy taking control of the media has been so hurtful. Because we are all literally looking around for a problem. We looked at the previous generation and said, hey, you worked 40 hours a week and you could afford food and housing and healthcare. Your salary was way lower, it was way higher than the cost of living. Why has that changed? And then when the billionaire-owned media tells us that it's changed because of immigrants, because of Republicans, because of Democrats, they just want us fighting over anything. because they know the actual cause is the ultra wealthy. But they would rather have us point fingers anywhere except for them. Corporations don't care about you. Corporations don't care about your family. And isn't that a little messed up when corporations only make money because we go do the hard work? Look, the majority of Americans have to muscle through the affordability crisis. Affordability, that's just what it costs to live. Affordability, it's insane. It should be like a luxury crisis. Oh, we don't have as many people living luxurious lifestyles as we want. It shouldn't be, oh, we don't have as many people able to buy food as we'd like. We don't have as many people that are able to buy housing as we'd like. No, that is wrong, because any job that is being offered should pay more than the cost of living. Think about what a job is. A job isn't a way for you to get a salary. A job is a way for the owner to make more money. So if the owner is only offering a job because they want to make more money, well, then the job that they offer should cover the cost of living. I don't know what that question was. Are you talking about job people voluntarily take? So nobody voluntarily takes a job when your choice is take a job or go homeless. So if you've got no money in your bank account and you've got your rent coming up and somebody's offering you $20 an hour, but you're like, no, I really think I'm worth $30 an hour, but you're not voluntarily taking that job if you're choosing between taking that job and going homeless. If you're choosing between taking that job and eating, because that's why they don't want us to have savings. If we had 3 months, 5 months, 6 months worth of savings, then I would be completely on your side. I'd be like, yeah, everybody has 6 months worth of savings. So when they take a job, they voluntarily take that job because they are not coerced with the threat of not having food or not having health care or not having housing. And we just have to understand that when people don't see that, it's not a fault. It's just that we're all products of the system. So it just is crazy because the economy used to work for us. We are the economy, and now the economy works against us. The media used to tell us truths. The media used to be on our side. Now the media separates us. Now the media wants us in living in different realities. And then politicians used to understand that, hey, even though we may think differently, we're all Americans. But it's like every single institution retreated into its own corner and started looking out for itself instead of the American people. But that's what happens when greed becomes the main driver of your culture. And that's really the problem, is that greed is the disease. Greed has taken over every single aspect of our society, and we have to come together to fix it. The way we come together is we stop relying on corporations. We start relying on people in our community. We don't want to rely on corporations because corporations actively hate us. They do. Corporations are actively trying to make sure that you cannot live a quality life. Because we already said that if you had 6 months worth of savings, then you are actually negotiating for that job rather than fighting up against homelessness or not having food. So that's why they don't want us to have security, because if we don't have security, then we don't have any power. We don't have any control. The lack of us having any savings in our bank accounts, man, that gives the corporations lots of control because they can sit there and hold firm at that $10 an hour job. And we can be like, no, we can't take it. We can't take it. But all that corporation has to do is wait 2 or 3 weeks, and then the next rent payment comes up, and we call back the corporation. I guess I'll take it for $10 an hour. I don't have another option. And then they make all of us feel like it's our fault. Then we take that $10 an hour job, and we are promised that if we bust our ass off, that if we invest in the company, that we will see returns. So for the next 2 or 3 years, we get there early, we stay late, we bust our ass. We literally hear about the profits going up and up and up. Then we go and we ask for a raise, and what do they say? There's not enough. No. You can't have any. Meanwhile, 1% of people have as much as 90% of us. So there's more than enough. They're just not giving any to us because they know that if we have any money, that if we have any savings, then we take back a little bit of the power. Then we take back a little bit of the control that they have over us. So if you want to be a part of this, I dropped the Discord. We also meet every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And what we are doing is we're building a community to rival the rigged system. The corporations don't care about us. In fact, they actively want us to not live. The food companies are just as bad because look at, the obesity rates and the microplastics and all of the horrific food that they give to us and then package and lie to us about it so that you literally have to be detectives to make sure that you eat healthy food. The easiest one to see is the goddamn health insurance industry, right? We literally pay them to keep us healthy, but when it comes time to use the product that we paid for our entire lives, they don't give us care based on whether we need it. They don't keep us healthy based on whether we need it. They only provide life-saving medical services if it also makes them money. So if it is not more clear that they care about money more than you, an insurance CEO will let your grandparents pass away if it means they get their quarterly bonus. And that's really the problem. Every single CEO is incentivized by what happens in the next 3 or 4 months, not in the next 3 or 4 years, and certainly not in the next 3 or 4 decades. So the incentivization is all wrong. That's where people say, oh, CEOs are evil. Oh, they're terrible people. No, they are just incentivized to screw us over. Hey, if you deny life-saving care for that person's grandparent, you'll get millions of dollars. Oh, do I have to meet that person? No. Do I have to meet that person's grandparents? No. Do I pretend like it's not my fault? Yes. Okay, I'll do it. The problem is that everything that we need to live has become a commodity. I just don't like to use those words. So the food that we need, that's not like a luxury item. We can't just be like, all right, I'll not get bread. Okay, I just won't eat today. It's something that we need. We need it to survive. So corporations were like, oh shit, unlimited profit margin. If they need it, then they can't say no, no matter how expensive it gets. And that's all it is. So corporations were like, cool, we would like to make money forever. We figured out a way to make money forever is to own all the things that humans need. So we'll make sure we own all of their food. And then when we want to make more money, all we'll do is raise the price of their food. What are they going to do? Say no? And then they did that with everything. And then if that was just the economy, then we would understand. But they did it with the media too. And they did it with the political process. We have to understand, Trump is not the problem. Trump is a symptom. Trump is a follow-up effect of the ultra wealthy taking over our country. But if you think getting rid of Trump is going to fix the problems, then you are sorely mistaken. Trump is a symptom of the disease and the disease is greed. And it's human nature. It's human nature to take more and more and more and more, especially when other people are doing it, especially when the media and the culture around us is telling us greed is good. F you, I got mine. If somebody doesn't have money, they're just lazy or stupid. So that's where we have to understand, if people still have their head in the sand, if people still do not understand, then we don't need to convince them. All we have to point here is right here. The cost of living is higher than the average salary. But when you point that out, people get their feelings hurt, right, Chris? For some reason, they're not strong enough to remain emotionally mature. So they call names because that's why Trump loves the uneducated, right? Because they don't understand it. John, it's all right. Everything is a projection with them. So, and what it is that the majority of people don't have savings. And if we don't have savings, then we can't negotiate for that job, right? If you don't have 6 months of savings, then your boss can pretty much treat you however they want, right? If you don't have 6 months of savings, then if your boss is like, come in this weekend or you're fired, you have to do it. And if you don't have any freedom of choice of what to do in your life, do you have any freedom? If you cannot quit your job tomorrow, then you're stuck. And if you're stuck, do you really have freedom of choice? Are you really free? I think the only people that have freedom of choice in this country are the people with money, because money is the only thing that gives you options, and freedom of choice is the freedom to have options. So that's why I ask, could you quit your job on Monday? Because if you can't quit your job on Monday, then you don't have any options. And if you don't have any options, are you really free? That's where your job is like a prison. Yeah, you can leave your job. There's no guards, there's no windows, but there's also no goddamn opportunity once you step outside. Because the economy only works for the ultra wealthy. Because basically America is a huge company town. 85% of corporations on the S&P 500 have the same 3 top shareholders. You are so right, Eviscerate. 85% of corporations on the S&P 500 have the same 3 top shareholders: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. All we really need to do is show everyone that the work that we do is our power. But here's what's so crazy is that we all know that we live, in that free range open air prison. But we know there's more of us than there are them, right? We know there's more of us than there are them. Then why don't we fix it? Because we rely on the prison guards for our food, right? We rely on the prison guards for our heat. We rely on the prison guards for our internet and our cars. All the things that make us feel free, we rely on the people imprisoning us for. So, if we rely on corporations for our food, but corporations don't care about us, then I say we stop relying on corporations for our food. If we rely on corporations for our healthcare, but corporations really care about money way more than our care, our health, then let's stop relying on them. There's your answer. It's just that it's not easy, right? It takes time. It takes us connecting. We trade new ideas. But y'all, this is inevitable. When the system stops working for us, we don't invent something new. We go back to ways of old. It's literally how our grandparents used to live. It just is over 60, 70, 80 years. It's degraded and turned from something that is mutually beneficial to both the workers and the employers, and it's turned into something that is only beneficial for the workers. City of Porterville, absolutely not. And this is where it's so strange that people that agree think that everything must be done their way. So I would say that naming the system is one of the worst things you can do, because people have had their identity tied to that system on purpose by the people in charge that control the media. So the more that you point out that this world, oh, it's black and white and I'm on this team. Oh, it's red and blue and I'm on this team. You are literally alienating a large swath of people for no reason. For no reason. I say the words that need to be said. If you do the hard work, you should get your fair share. Why is it that we're the ones that build the companies and they take all the money? It should be a mutually beneficial relationship. They need us, and that's fine. But people that think there's no middle ground are a huge part of the problem. So that's where it's just sad that when somebody who comes in that agrees on 8 out of the 10 things that we are doing says, whoop, they're not naming the system, I am going to push back rather than agree. It is not. So this is where people just do not understand. You are severely mistaken, and I do not understand why somebody who claims to be a part of this would come in, derail, distract, and divide. So I'm going to see you moving forward and just be like, that is a person that does not get it. I will just mute you when you come in. And it's just funny to me how people who believe all the same things, yes, we should change, we should get people to wake up to their power. Oh, but if you're not calling out the system, that's where I draw the line. There's no middle ground. Anybody that says no middle ground, anybody that says this is black and white, this is not gray, that is somebody that is part of the problem. Whether they're on the left side or on the right side, it does not matter. Because what this is a bunch of Americans coming together saying, how can we fix this? How can we move forward? How can we get as many people to see that, hey, dude, your boss might be the one paying you, but you're the one that fixes the machine that the boss doesn't even know the name of. You've got some goddamn power too. And we're going to show it to you. And you're not going to go up to that large construction mechanic and say what Porterville wanted us to say and have them listen to any of the words that are coming out of your mouth. This is a Tumblr. This is what they meant. They said they made $1 million for the company and got a coffee cup. But that's what it is. We make the money. They take all the profit. And that's how our productivity goes up and up and up. And the salaries stay the same. Because when we go and ask for a raise, they make us feel like it is our fault. Wooly, you're so cute. I have 6 locations and 34 employees. We'll be closed tomorrow for January 1st, but today we are open. And the only way that I'm able to be here talking to you is because guess what? I rely on my employees to get the job done. I'm making money right now. I can't both take all the money that my employees are making and all the time. So what I do is I go, okay, I've got some of my time back. Then the employees can have a lot of the money because I already have what I need. That's why I literally offered a job into the community because I'm like, I think I could make more money. And thankfully, my business is one that also helps people. So I fucking love it. So I can be like, oh, not only can I go make some more money, but I can go help a bunch of people too. This is awesome. Oh, wait, there's only one of me. So if there's only one of me and I want to open up 5, 6 locations, what do I need to do? I need to make sure that that employee is empowered. Make sure that employee knows their value. Because here's what it is. If you pay somebody minimum wage, you're going to get minimum effort. So rather than paying someone minimum wage and getting minimum effort, I'd like to pay them a lot more than minimum wage so that I get maximum effort. Because if my employees are giving maximum effort, do you know what I get back? My time. So that's all. But so we just have to remember, y'all, if people are coming in good faith, you can talk to them as much as you need. But if people are coming in like this Wooly guy, come on. We don't care about them. Who cares who's next, right? When we say it's not left versus right, it's up versus down, that doesn't mean we sit here and talk to people like Wooly, right? We give them a minute or two to show us how dense they are. And then once we recognize they are not arguing in good faith, we use them as an example and we move on. Only 30% of Americans want this society, want life to be this way. But those 30% of Americans, they have the billionaire's thumb on the scale. So we hear all the media articles that parrot their stupid talking points. We hear all of the movies and music and television and everything in the culture of our society goes towards the owners and the wealthy. If you have money, you're more important. Energize. I always think we should base a company's success not off of the company's valuation or how much the CEO makes. I think a company's success should be based on how rich the employees are, right? I think that we should and that's totally fine, Wooly. That's exactly what we're saying. Because the majority of people recognize that cooperating is better than competing. You are one of those people that are like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. Society, what's that? And you just don't have the education to be able to grasp what we're talking about. Because what we're saying is that competition, the whole reason we left the jungle is because it was nice to know where our food was coming from the next day. Because it was nice to know where we were sleeping at that night. Because it was nice to know that we had, what's the word? Security. But we literally leave the jungle. We get away from dog eat dog. And the only way we got away from dog eat dog was, oh, I have to cooperate with you because you could steal all of our food at night, but then that would hurt you as well. So what we should do is work together. And that's where I always feel bad because it's like, I just don't know whether to mute them or let them keep bumping the live because they're commenting, but that's fine. They can get muted. So, and then that's where this is for the 70% of people that don't think like that. If you believe that humans have intrinsic value, if you believe that we are more than the money that we make, right? Because like what I don't get is if somebody was born 100 years ago and they were great at putting horseshoes on horses, well, they would be rich as shit. But now somebody born who's naturally good at putting horseshoes on horses is not going to be rich. It doesn't mean they're not a good person. They were a good person 100 years ago, and they're a good person today. But 100 years ago, their skills were relevant, so they got rich. And today, it's not. All we're asking, I know, it's just, I feel bad, Sean. I wish I could. I get distracted sometimes because I want to read all the good comments. I want to talk with y'all. But then it just gets so distracting when somebody is intentionally being a thorn in the side. So true, Energize. Literally, when I started this journey, I was like, I don't understand. Blake, I only like to use it as an illustration. I don't like to talk about the details of my business because it is community facing. I have lots of employees. There's just no reason to take that risk for clout. So absolutely Energize, because that's where the whole idea was, and this back to my business, where once I found the team of people that I was like, sick, this is awesome. I think I have all of the positions filled that I need to continue growing so that I don't have to worry anymore, right? Thank you, Sean. And so I don't have to worry anymore. So then I was like, well, this is amazing. I found my team I get to spend the majority of my time doing what I want. I have more than enough to live, so I want my employees to also have more than enough to live. And if we are able to move forward with that, then everybody is able to have security, is able to build prosperity. And that's fine, Jeff. That's what people always say. We're just not talking to you, Jeff. So, because that's what they always say. Go get another job, go get a better skill, and move to somewhere else. That is completely ignoring the fact that somebody is hanging on to a life raft. That, yeah, their head is barely above water, but if they miss literally 2 days of work, they won't be able to get food. They won't be able to pay for their kids' childcare. They might not be able to pay for their rent. So they are hanging on to this life raft where they're living paycheck to paycheck. 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Oh, but when you're dependent on that next paycheck that's 2 weeks away, why don't you just move? Why don't you just uproot your whole life and move? Because moving's totally cheap and free, right? Oh, so if you don't like your job, why don't you just get a better skill? That happens overnight, right? Well, just go get a better skill overnight. Oh, you've got a little baby? Oh, you've got kids? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Oh, you just want to move to another area? Well, just leave. That doesn't cost anything. That doesn't cost anything to leave. So for everybody that is anti-Jeff, everybody that is ready to move forward and get rid of this god dang society, we are building the community that we need to rival the rigged system. You can't handle the truth. We will get to the solution in a minute. The reason I stay so long on the diagnosis is because if we all think it's a different disease, we'll be headed towards a different outcome, a different cure. If I think that it's an earache and you think it's a backache, and I think that it's a heart disease, we're all going to be doing different things, right? Jamie, I appreciate you. We need you and your husband to become leaders in this group. I didn't mean to be pedantic. You can't handle the truth. I apologize. I really do. I don't mean to come across that way. I was just trying to say that we want to make sure. I guess I feel bad about feeling like I'm lingering on this, well, what's the cause? What's the cause? What's the cause? But really, I could do it like this. Well, the ultra wealthy have 1%, as much as 90% of us. They control the economy, the media, and the politics. And that's why we can't change it. And until we get control of some of those, we will never get there. But it's really, I think what we're trying to do is translate this confusion that we all feel. Because that's what I've been feeling for like a decade. And I'm pretty sure everybody else is feeling it too. It's so confusing when our goddamn parents and the previous generation are like, it's your fault. We don't know what's AI or not, but it's your fault. And then we literally pull up the cost of living versus the salary, but we're like, shit, how is this our fault? And then the media tells us one thing, the politicians tell us another, and it's just goddamn frustrating. So we spend a lot of time talking about the problem that 1% of people have as much as 90% of us. And that's where all the other issues come from. If you imagine the wealth in America as 10 slices of bread, one person is taking 5 slices. And that leaves the other 9 to fight over 5. So if there's 9 people fighting over 5 slices, where it used to be 9 people and 9 slices, we all are fighting about what the problem is rather than the solution. Well, the real problem is the fact that we rely on that one person. The only way that one person is able to take 5 slices of bread is because they're the ones that control what you need to make it. So the only way the ultra wealthy are able to control our society is because the ultra wealthy control the things that you need to make a society go. And that's not the government, that's not the laws. The people that control your food, they're the people that control you. The people that control your housing, they're the ones that control you. The people that control your health care, the people that have control over your medicine, got a lot of power over you. Christian, you're so right. Because what it is that right now, they are the only way we can make bread. That's what we need to think of. Right now, this system is the only way that all of us know how to survive, right? Is by going and working for the man. For that 1% of people who's taken so much. Christian, people aren't going to do it until everybody starts to do it. So what we do is that one person knows, shit, it's like this. Say you are a parent of a teenager. Oh, I just came up with a really good analogy. Say you're the parent of a teenager and you've got 2 or 3 teenagers and all of those teenagers go, I don't need you. I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. And they're 10, 11, 12. These are young kids. I'm leaving. Well, are the parents scared? No. They might care about, if they care about that person, they care about their well-being. But are they like, oh, are they actually going to leave? No, because they physically cannot leave. That 10-year-old can't go find housing. That 10-year-old can't go find food or health care. So the parents are just like, they're coming back. Because what else are they going to do? They need me to survive. So no matter how long we protest for or we push back against, we still rely on that 1%, that one person that we need to survive. So if we're all back baking bread again, and it's the one person who owns the oven and the ingredients, but they rely on us to take care of the chickens to get the eggs. They rely on us to grow the wheat and separate the wheat from the chaff. They rely on our skills to make the dough, to make the bread. The only way they can feel comfortable taking 5 slices and knowing that we are not going to fight back is because where the hell else are we getting our bread from? Because right now, that guy's the only bread game in town. So that's the problem. Or the prison analogy. We know that there are so many, that there are not as many prisoners as there are, that there are way more prisoners than there are guards. But we cannot leave, because if we leave the prison, we'll starve. We will not live. We will not make it. So the only way that we can actually start taking some of the power back is start taking back control over the essentials. That's what it is. Corporations have power over us, not because they have money, not because they have the politicians in their pocket. Corporations have power over us because they control what we need to live. That's it. All humans need the same things. We need food, we need housing, and we need health care. So we start taking back those things. The nice part is 2 of those things are already being made by people in your area. All 3 of them are. It just is the third one has lots of people. So people are making food. Your community members are growing food. All it takes is some dirt and some land and some knowledge and some work. That's what we do best, y'all, right? We built this damn economy on our grit, on our hard work, on our skills. We fix the part that the boss doesn't even know the name of. So who's the actual valuable one? The one with all the skills and all the knowledge, or the asshole up top who's greedy? So, but in order to reduce our reliance on corporations, we have to start relying on each other, right? Because there is a farmer right down the road that is producing food, but just like you and I, that farmer has a habit of selling all their food to the corporations. That farmer has a habit of not working with the community, of not understanding. Because before, there wasn't 50 people, 100 people that were all like, hey, if you sell it to us, we'll buy it from you every single week. The only consistent place was a corporation. Same with your healthcare, right? There are people in your community that want to provide you with quality healthcare. Doctors and nurses. But corporations have come in and stuck themselves in between you and the people in your community that want to provide you with affordable care. Corporations have come in and stuck themselves in between you and the people who make food. Because the corporations know that if they can control our food, they can control us. It's not taking the greed. There's always been guardrails against greed. The top tax rate in America used to be 90%. And not only that, it's really just about changing the incentive structure. Because, Jamie, the only thing that makes people greedy is their incentivization. CEOs know that they will never make more money than at that CEO position that they have right there. So they are absolutely incentivized to hit all their bonuses and make as much as possible in a short amount of time. They're not thinking 3 or 4 years or 3 or 4 decades down the road. They're thinking 3 or 4 months down the road. So they are incentivized to think incredibly short term, no matter the consequences. Because on average, that CEO is not going to be there in a year or two. So, Jamie, I just went over it, but I will hit it again. So the corporations have power over us, not because they have money, not because we're divided. The corporations have power over us because they control what we need to live. All humans need the same things to live. What do we think? Food, housing, healthcare, and then oxygen and water, right? Food, housing, healthcare, oxygen, water. That's it. Well, Christian, if it's one person doing it, then it feels like, well, what am I going to do? But if there's tens of millions of us doing it, we are actually inciting the culture shift. So that's literally what we are doing. So if anybody has heard about Blackout the System or the mass blackout, or any of the holiday boycotts that were going on, this is the point of it. Because the mass blackout and a 1-week boycott is very important. But a 1-week boycott is not going to change the system. You know what will change the system? All of us changing our habits long term from relying on corporations to relying on each other. Because corporations do not care about us, and they only care about making a profit. So I would much rather rely on people in my community that do care about me. And they care about me and my community because they care about the outcomes. Because unlike a multinational corporation that has 1,000 communities to rely on, so therefore it doesn't rely on you. That's the problem. Didn't vote for any government programs. It's so funny. Why do you think that it's people on welfare and not the people that are putting them on welfare? Walmart made $12 billion last year in profit. But Walmart purposefully did not pay their employees health insurance. Is that because they're stupid? No, it's because they're greedy. Because they recognize they can pay an extra $1 billion for their employees' health insurance, but they don't have to. Because what they can do is underpay their employees so that all of their employees qualify for public assistance. And then, since they control the media, they lie to you about what the problem is so that you think that the people on welfare are the problem versus the billionaires that made $12 billion that said, well, we could make $11 billion, but we don't give a shit about American citizens. So we're just going to go ahead and take the $12 billion, let all of these people go on public assistance, and then go to the media and pay a media to lie about what the actual problem is. Because we know people like Bert are products of their society and unable to see the truth. That why would we blame the Walmart worker who's working 40 hours a week? Shouldn't working full time make it so that you can afford housing and food without struggling, right? But no, anytime we bring up that America might not be as great as it once was, people really get their feelings hurt. And that's because they've tied their identity to being an American. That's because they have nothing else in their life that makes them good or happy besides being an American. And that's why they hate immigrants so much, is because when somebody can just walk into our country and just be an American, it takes away one of the biggest parts of their identity. So we meet every single Sunday at 7 p.m. We've got our Discord. You can go ahead and join. Oh, sorry, I'm going to get the new link for you. My bad. Let me get the updated link. And we'll drop that for you. Does anybody have any questions or anything like that? Oh, yeah. That 90s, that is such a great point, because the profit margin, what the price that they sell us things for is, it does not matter what they actually do, what the cost of the good actually is. The price of something is completely separate from what it costs to make it. The price of something only comes down to how much money they want to make. So Red Pill, this is great. This is only, I'm sorry, I did not get to this part. So the Discord is important because that's where we break out into states. So right now we meet nationally on here. We meet nationally on our Sunday meetings. But national meetings, that really doesn't mean shit. I mean, they are important. We all get to meet each other and have fun and all that, but that's not where actual action happens. It's the local action groups. Those local action groups are created in your state servers in the Discord, because the whole goal is this, is to get 10, 20, 50, 100 people per state. Once we get that many people per state, then we start breaking out into cities. And then you're able to literally create a local action group. We will have a Blackout the System Cincinnati, Blackout the System Cleveland, Blackout the System Toledo. And then you all have your own separate groups that you focus on. How can we make our city council do what we want? How can we make our Chamber of Commerce stop allowing corporations? And then the one in Toledo might have found a strategy that works. And then the one in Toledo shares it with the one in Cincinnati. And then they share that with Christian up in Michigan. And they share that with Red Pill down in Texas. And that's how we start building the community that we need. Christian, would love for you to connect. Eric, let's figure out what's going on with that Discord. I would love to meet with you one-on-one, because really this is starting. Eric and Christian already right there in Michigan. If you both join the Discord, you'd start talking in the general chat. And then the first step is to get about 5 people in your state. Because once you have 5 people that are in the state chats, then you can start doing shit without feeling like it's all on 1 or 2 people, right? Because then you've got 5 people and you're like, all right, even if only 3 or 4 of us show up, it's not just one of us. We're still working together. And so that's what it really is we have what we need already in our community. There are people that produce food. We can start doing community gardens, food networks. We've got a little bit of land. I would love to find somebody who is a master gardener, and then we put out a build a post in the community. Hey, we've got land. We've got a master gardener. We need 30 people. You don't need to do it every week, but when you can on Saturdays, we need 50 people to come and help tend to this garden. At the end of the year, everybody gets a big haul, and the rest of it gets donated to our community. And that's how you start growing the food that you need. An online consignment shop. Rather than just going and buying shit from corporations, we already have all this shit. We just need to trade it and barter it. So there's a group in our town that takes kids' clothes, and rather than having somebody go and sell their kids' clothes, they say, look, I'll sell it for you, and we can split the profits. And then that way, somebody else is doing the work, the customers get good customer service, and the person who has the product gets a little bit of money without having to do anything to sell it. There are ways that we can fix this. And then it's not like we need to all disconnect 100%, right? It's like it's probably only 25% that gives us the power back. Because right now, corporations are able to do whatever the fuck they want because they have all the power. Because close to 100% of us rely on them, close to 100%. School is there so we can learn to become good workers, right? So that's why we start with food and healthcare. It won't be everywhere. It won't be right away. It won't be all the time. But think, we already found 2 people in Michigan, so I'll keep using that. Obviously, it's not the right time of year, but I'm sure there's probably some indoor places. But still then, you could call your farmers in Michigan, your food producers in Michigan, your beef producers in Michigan, and say, hey, y'all are so used to selling all your food and products to the corporations. Look, Christian and Eric and I, we want to buy some of that from you. And we have 1,000 people in our community that want to buy your beef too. Now, I know you've been selling to the corporations for the last 30 and 40 years, but man, those corporations are just trying to screw you over, aren't they? And they'll be like, yeah. Wouldn't it be nice working with somebody who actually appreciates you, who actually wants to work with you, and who lives in your community? Yeah, that sounds good. Boom. It's not going to be everywhere all the time, but we do have to start. And then healthcare is another one. There are doctors, there are nurses, there are healthcare providers in your area that care about you, that want to see you get quality care. But they are so used to, we don't see outside the system, right? All we see is that, oh, well, as a doctor, this is what I do. I don't start my own business. I go and I work for one of the big corporations. Yeah, Christian, that's honestly what's accelerated this was private equity has come into spaces that they've never came into before. Fucking housing. 30% of single family homes in Q1 of 2025 were purchased by corporations. The majority of childcare has been purchased by private equity. These are things that should be for the people. And when you take things that are for the people and you make it for profit, your society fucking breaks. The economy, yeah, you make profit, but it's also supposed to be for the people. When you take the entire economy and only make it for profit and forget that it should also be for the people, the economy breaks. When you take the media and you make the media entirely for profit and not for people, the media breaks. And then sadly with politics, when you take politicians and you make it entirely a for-profit venture, the whole political process breaks. Well, Christian, you say that, but I don't know where we'd get our food the next day if corporations have the contracts to buy all the food from the farmers. Our power, the majority of power infrastructure in America is owned by a private corporation, even though our tax dollars put those wires in the ground. I don't know how we'd stay connected if the telecommunications the same way. Our tax dollars pay for it. It's now owned by a private company. We build it, they get it. It seems to be the case in America. Because that's really the whole thing is, even if we all worked together, we still don't control the food. We still don't control the housing. And until we make this a natural next step, we can't have people being like, should I participate in this? I don't know if it's going to work. I'm a little afraid that Tom down the street is going to cave because I know that his wife is sick. And if the company calls and says, oh, we've got a hospital bed, or, we'll cure your wife for you if only you break the picket line, then I'm afraid Tom might break it. But if we know Tom's wife has a doctor from the community that is taking care of them, then we're like, oh, sweet. This isn't scary. We know this is going to happen. This is just the natural next step in what we've been building. The majority of us know where we're getting our food, even if it's not from the grocery store. The majority of us know where we're getting our health care, even if it's not from the big pharma or big corporations. And the majority of us are comfortable in our housing because we've got tenant unions and housing unions all across the country. So yeah, we're going to be able to withdraw from the system and I'll be all right. So it's really, wow, Jamie, you just helped me unlock something. Once the new system provides us a little bit more security than the old system, that's when things start to change. And I really think it's going to go food and healthcare, and then the bigger stuff, then housing and power, right? Because once we take back our food and healthcare, we'll be like, oh shit, we did it. Damn. You ready to take back power? You ready to take back housing now? Yeah, I think we're ready. And that's it. The fear will start to flip. We will no longer be afraid. The people in charge will, right? The green agenda. Like the Green Party? No, 3 years. And that's where if you're referring to the orange man, he is not the problem. He is the symptom. There's not anybody that thinks it's one single thing. It's so funny that you're like, yeah, the media is owned by like 3 corporations. The politicians are completely bought and paid for. The economy, there's no competition. Corporations dominate everything. But you know what the problem is? The green agenda. The ultra wealthy control the jobs and all of our retirement and our health care. But the problem is the green agenda. The ultra wealthy control the media and all the news that we hear. And they literally keep us divided on purpose. But the problem is the green agenda. Then the political process doesn't work at all, right? See you later, Christian. But the problem is the green agenda. Anybody that thinks one specific thing is the problem is part of the problem. Because what they do is they try to divide us over climate change, immigration, foreign wars, Republican or Democrat. They want us fighting over all this stuff. Because the more that we fight about problems that aren't actually the disease, the more that we go after symptoms, like we think that, oh, it's an earache. Well, if we all go and pretend like it's an earache, then when the actual fact is that we have a congenital heart disease, then we're going to do the wrong thing, right? That's what it really comes down to. It has nothing to do with green agenda or renewables. It's the fact that the ultra wealthy took over our economy, the media, and the political process. And if they didn't throw a bunch of, scraps for us to fight over, which is, oh, it's the green agenda. Oh, it's the Republicans. Oh, Donald Trump's the problem. Oh, immigrants are the problem. Oh, foreign influence is the problem. No. The problem is that greed causes all of those issues. Dang, Hitman. Not at all. But what's so funny is so many people see that we're talking about the same thing. Trump took this same anger that people had, they stoked the anger into fear and then made it hate. We are literally saying the same thing. So Donald Trump came into America at a time when we were all confused. And he told 30-40% of the people, you don't need to be confused. It's those brown people and the Democrats that are causing the problem. Boom. So he took their anger, he made them afraid and turned it into hate. But what this really is taking that same anger and saying, hey, y'all, we get that we're all pissed off because we're all getting screwed. The rich literally rely on us to get their money. And then they screw us over every chance they get. So why don't we work together to fix it? Because the rich rely on us, then they screw us over. So that's really the problem. And the fact that people are like, oh, you're this, oh, you're that, it's literally the separation into groups is what they want. They want us saying, well, I am this label and this is what I am. And so it's fine. It gets me when people's heads are still in the sand, when this should be so easy to see that the ultra wealthy keep us out of money because that's how they keep control over us. If they keep control over us, they can do what they want. They have more power. And yeah, this is the same pain that our country has been feeling for probably like 2 decades now. And just at the right time, when everybody was looking around going, what the heck is the problem? What the heck is going on? A really angry orange man with racist issues came in and lied about what the problem is. Because what that really was, that was the last attempt at the billionaires to really lie to us. And damn, it worked so much better than they were expecting. They were like, all right, well, none of us want to get on stage. Let's get this idiot. He can do it. And then what we'll do is we'll have him say all these heinous things. And it just works so much better because they're like, hey, America's looking for somebody to hate right now. America's looking for anger. And they took 30% of Americans and they gave them someone to hate. They allowed them to be angry. I think we're doing the exact opposite of that. We're saying, hey, take that hate that you have, take that anger that you have, and recognize that the only way that you can fix it and get rid of it, number one, you got to make sure it's, you're pointing at the right disease, you're pointing at the right problem. But number two, the only way that we can fix it is by all of us coming together. Because yeah, we can be mad at the 1% all that we want. We can protest and yell and hoot and holler all we want. But until we control where our food comes from, we don't control shit. Until we control where our medicine comes from, we don't control shit. And our healthcare and our housing. And we have to recognize that, yeah, we want to get those ultra wealthy people out of power. But the way to do that, it's not through coordinating alone. It's not through protesting on its own. Certainly not through just voting. We have to take some of the power back. And the only way we can take some of the power back is by us controlling the essentials, controlling what we need to live. Hitman, I'd love to ask you why you think that we're MAGA. Because this is Blackout the System is a pretty well-known movement. We're economic pushback. We are literally a boycott and a strike combined. We believe the ultra wealthy are the problem because they control all the pillars of power in America. And it used to be that institutions worked for us, and now institutions work against us. Instead of the media being for the people, the media became for profit. and it's broken. Instead of politicians being for the people, a political job became for profit, and now politics is broken. Doesn't work for us. And then the economy, same way. There are no more mom and pop shops. There are no more local companies. We are the economy, but the economy doesn't work for us anymore. It only works for the 1%. And we're saying, hey, if we all recognize that, if we all agree on the problem, then we can all start working towards the same solution, the same cure. But it's only when we all agree that, hey, we can't run out and try to, work out for 24 hours to try to fix it and then drop from exhaustion. No, that's what keeps the people in power. What we need to do is slow and steady. And our first steps have to be small steps together. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Cool. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, we're doing our best. Just breaking it out by state. And definitely, absolutely, Jamie, because once you realize this, I know Dirty Hands, it's so crazy. So what we're doing is part of the reason is we have to rely on corporations. Corporations don't care about us at all. So we have to stop relying on a corporation that doesn't care about us. Corporations actively hate you and actively hate your family. So let's stop relying on groups of people that actively hate us and actively hate our family. And let's start relying on people that care about us. And we believe that people that care about us are people in our community because they care about what happens in their community. They care about the products and services that we receive in our community. So no, I could not imagine a local cheesemaker putting sawdust in their Parmesan cheese because they will be like, man, I care about this community. I care about what people put in their bodies because these are my neighbors. These are my kids' friends. So no, I would never put sawdust in their Parmesan cheese. Meanwhile, corporations are like, hold my beer. I don't give a shit about any of these communities. I'm going to put sawdust in all of their Parmesan cheese. Look at the healthcare companies. If you were a health insurer, think if you were a health insurer for 1,000 people, right? Think if you were a health insurer for 1,000 people, and those 1,000 people each paid you $100 a month, and you made $100,000, and that you were allowed to keep 5,000 of it, but $95,000 a month was for the health care of your community. Well, if somebody needed that, and they needed to use that money for their health care, would you be like, I would rather have more money in my bank account than for this person in my community to continue living? I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine ever making the choice of, hey, I've got $10,000 in the bank account. I could make another $10,000 if they didn't live. So we've got to stop. Like, MAGA has their head in the sand, yes, but they are not evil. No, it's not. So what Trump did is they took the fear that people have, they turned that fear into anger, and that anger into hate. I'm not saying that they're not wrong. I'm just saying that they're a product of their society, and that if the majority of MAGA people had been born in a different environment, hi, Noni Bear, in a different environment, to different people, they would not have turned out like that. MAGA literally feels the same pain that we all feel. They don't have enough money. They're angry. And somebody came along and said, you're looking for a problem? Well, here's the problem. But that's because we're in a country of me, me, me. And they literally were fearful and angry and hateful. And all of that emotion should have been directed towards the 1%. They're allowed to feel the way that they feel. Hey, we got gypped. Hey, I'm working harder and still falling farther behind. They are confused. What is happening? And if the media actually worked for the people, then we'd be able to all say, oh, well, we know what's happening. In America, 3 million people have $50 trillion, and 233 million people each have $50 trillion combined. That's the problem. And then people say, but I don't have enough money. It's simply because they didn't get a good enough education. Most of them didn't go to college. Remember, Trump loves the uneducated. So they just believe the propaganda. The majority of them. So my father is a MAGA guy, construction worker his whole fucking life, surrounded by a bunch of MAGA people. But if you drop away the pretext and are like, hey, Dad, like, you were the one that if the part broke on the job site, shit would grind to a halt. Every single hour, the boss is losing 12 grand an hour. So when you come in there and you fix the part and you're still barely scraping by, you're the one that has the leverage. You're the one that has the power. It's up to your skill whether that job site stays screeching to a halt or gets back working again. So, Dad, you're the one that brings the skill. You're the one that actually brings the value, or the home builders, right? My dad worked for home builders his whole life. It'd be him and like 9 of his contractor friends. And he knows how to do all the shit because he learned it from all of his contractor buddies. Hanging the drywall, doing the electric, doing the plumbing, laying the foundation. They all rely on the people who did the job before them doing the job well. Well, guess who gets all the fucking money? The goddamn person up top, when all they did was say, here's some of Daddy's money, go build this house. I won't do the actual work. I don't know how to plumb or do electricity or lay a foundation, but I'm going to be the one that takes all the money simply because I brought the capital to start. No, all of the people that build the house, they're the ones that did the work, and they all deserve to have enough to live. You put it like that, concerned citizen, every single MAGA is like, yeah, the guy that does the electricity, they should get a little bit more. The guy that does the plumbing, they should get a little bit more. They contribute too. All we're saying is that not everybody is going to have their head in the stand. Not everybody. Okay. And then if you are monolithing entire groups of people and just say, I know what this entire group of 70 million people are thinking, I don't think it's worth continuing this conversation. So we are here because the cost of living is insane. And every single person feels this. Concerned citizen, I'm sorry, you are not concerned. You simply have your head. You are just as bad as a MAGA because your head is in the sand too. You are sitting there going, oh, the only issue in America is MAGA. Thank you, Noni Bear. I got to take your wonderful grandmotherly qualities because I get frustrated. Because anytime that you call out 70 million people and say, that's not what 70 million people think, I just don't think that's a true statement. Because you can't. Okay. It's been pinned. That's not what MAGA thinks. So you claim to know what 70 million people think. That's all. Yes or no? And I think the other 50 of us are laughing at that. because, oh, that was a good one, Noni Bear. That was a good one. So it's just the fact that somebody's like, yeah, Kiatu, I could say that, but no, I'd say that they are products of their society, that the majority of people understand that if you do the hard work, you get the reward. I don't think that that's MAGA. I think that's all Americans. I think that's all human beings. If 10 people work together to make 10 slices of bread, I think we all believe that all those people deserve to live. Because right now, 10 people are making 10 slices of bread and 1 or 2 people are not getting enough food to live. And a lot of times, one of those 2 people are the people that we're talking about, right? They don't care whether you're red or blue or black or white. The system takes the value that you put in and leaves you to figure it out on your own. So the Case New Holland plant, the Purdue plant, both of those have just been shut down in the last 4 weeks, affecting 300 workers and 1,000 workers respectively. So that's 1,300 workers. Some of those were MAGA. Some of those are probably pretty upset that the corporations put their profit above people, that the CEO put their bonus above their family. And rather than saying all MAGA are idiots, and this is the reason why they're all the problems, we say, hey, maybe they'll finally start opening their eyes. Maybe they can finally start waking up. And those that don't, then I agree with you. Those that stay with their eyes closed, somebody came in earlier and was just, bad faith argument, bad faith argument, bad faith argument. Who cares about them? That's what we're saying. Who cares? Who's next? But if there are people that were like, I voted for this because I really thought that the problem was immigration. I was seeing it in the media all the time. I heard the politicians talking about it. But man, now that I see that it's really the corporations that are taking way more than their fair share, and yeah, we might not agree on what all the solutions are, but I know that we can all be asking the right questions together. That's what we want, right? And if we monolith people and say they all think like this, then we will never be able to get there. So it's just sad to me that somebody who calls themselves concerned citizen, what are you concerned about? Yourself? Because you're not concerned about 70 million Americans. And what's so funny is we are trying to push the wheel of progress forward. Well, if there are 70 million people pushing back against us, are we going to get anywhere? I don't think so. And that's fine. Then this movement is not for you, because what we are doing is we are taking the 70% of people that are ready to move forward, that are done with this society, that want to show everybody that humans have intrinsic value, not based off of their hard work, but because they're somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's friend, right? Well, Noni Barrett's where the attitude is sad, because obviously people have an attitude because of the situation that they're in. You can tell that it's not a very jovial person. And then because I fall into this too, right? I think we all do. Because you're not feeling great about things. You see something come along, sick of it all. Hello. So because things aren't going great, you're more critical than you should be, and you come off as this negative person. And then you're wondering, like, well, why doesn't anybody want to listen to my ideas? Well, often the way that you package things is how well people are receptive to it. Ready? Perception is everything, right? Absolutely, Eric, right? We've got to understand. There you go. That's so true. You don't even have the numbers right. So that's fine. You just don't seem like someone who's very serious. No, Christian, being MAGA would be not having the understanding of the macro economic situation to be able to vote better. That's all. So that's why Trump likes the uneducated, because they see the whole world as if you get more, I get less. So I'm going to vote against you getting more. That's all. But if you show, and then they see the whole world as CEOs, job creators, workers, not job creators. CEO important, workers not important. CEO make lots of money, workers don't make lots of money. That's it. Things are binary in their brain. It's either this or that, this or that, this or that. And on top of that, the number one thing that the ultra wealthy have done, the reason it feels like they're on a different planet than us is because they are. Because they are living in a world full of competition. We are trying to tell them, yo, the world's not about competition. We actually only got to this point in our society because of cooperation. So that's where I understand the despair that you're feeling, because the majority of MAGA will not ever change their mind because they are stuck in the competitive mindset that competition is what life is all about. Because I'm not claiming to say that 70 million people are in that exact same boat. That I bet you there is 10%, 20% that as their life gets tougher and tougher, as they keep making the decisions that they were told is right, but they keep falling farther behind, eventually they'll say, what the fuck is going on? Here's the way. So there is a bunch of people eating what they think are health bars. They think they are eating healthy. Does anybody remember when Regina George in Mean Girls was being fed what she thought was a health bar? What she thought was going to get her skinny? Well, Regina George did not get skinny, right? So they are literally stuffing their face with something. This will make you healthy, MAGA. Ah, rah, 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 Trump. This will make you healthy, MAGA. Ah, rah, 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 Trump. And then when we sit here and go, hey, what you're eating doesn't work. It's never going to work for you. Some of the people that go, fuck you. Well, then, yeah, you don't talk to them. But some of them will be like, well, yeah, I've gotten a little bit fatter. Well, yeah, I've gotten a little bit bigger. And that's all we're saying is, yeah, some people might throw up both fingers and say, fuck you, as they keep stuffing cheeseburgers down their face. But somebody might be like, oh, right? Things have been getting worse for me. And that's really nice that that person wasn't like, you idiot, everybody who's MAGA is bad. And they actually told me, like, hey, I know that you think that you're eating a health food right now, but it's actually not very good for you. And yeah, if that person goes, fuck you, then yeah, who cares? But it doesn't mean that you like hate like they do. Because if you literally seem to have the same amount of hate that they have, why do you think hate is the answer to hate? That's really what it comes down to. Why do you think hate is the answer? Because you sure seem to hate MAGA. So I just don't think that we should do this from a place of hate. And that's all. But you've already kind of showed your true colors. Noti Bear, I appreciate you. Eric, I appreciate you. Because we can have as many conversations as we'd like. No problem, Eric. What the Ridley? This is an economic pushback group. I know, trainer. That's what really gets me. Is it's just like, hey, we might think a little bit different, but this is so nice that we're all on the same team versus if you don't condemn MAGA, I can't follow your movement. Whoa. You really think 70 million people are evil? Because I would say if you've bought the propaganda that 70 million people are evil, then you are literally you are just as much of a problem as those 70 million people. Absolutely living the dream. I appreciate you. Because maybe that's the reason MAGA seems so hateful and angry. Is because we literally come at conversations where it's like, well, you hateful, evil piece of shit are the reason all the fucking problems are happening in our society. Just like, no, it's not one group of people. Because like if we actually had, I just think of this all the time. If everybody had 100 grand in their bank account, people wouldn't be this pissed off. People wouldn't be this divided. You'd be able to turn down that shitty job. You'd be able to wait till the right job came along. You'd have frickin' freedoms again. You'd have autonomy. You'd have control over your own life, and people wouldn't be as angry because they could have dignity. They could have respect. They could build a community. But the fact that we don't have any money, we can't have any freedom, we don't have any self-respect, we don't have any dignity, and we certainly can't build a community if we don't have anything that makes us feel good. And community is the reason for living. They want us to think that money is the reason for living, but it's not. Money just gives us a little bit of security so that we can have some dignity and self-respect to build us a community. Man, concerned, I invited you up here. That's what everybody says because they don't understand it. What I would say is that the main point is the fact that there's no competition today. Isn't the hallmark of a capitalistic society competition? And right now, there's no local mom and pop shops that can compete with the big grocery stores. There are hardly any local general stores, certainly none that can compete with Walmart or Target. There are no local newspapers. There are no local banks. There are hardly any local hardware stores. And the big part is that when they control everything, you don't have any options, right? So then, unknown soldier, you walk into Walmart, and that employee is not getting paid enough to give two shits. So they roll their eyes at you and walk the other direction. Well, guess what? You can't leave and go to the local competitor for Walmart because Walmart ran them out of town 50 years ago. You walk into Home Depot and you ask, hey, do you have this bracket? And the literal employee goes, F you, and walks away. But what are you going to do? You can't just leave and go to the local hardware store. Home Depot ran them out of business 30 years ago. So when there's no competition, which is the hallmark of a capitalist society, when there's no competition, there's no reason to pay your workers enough to care. Because if your workers, you don't have to pay your workers enough to care. Because what are your customers going to do? Go somewhere else? No, you have to shop there because there's no other competition. So that's the number one reason I would say this is not communism, because we currently don't live in a capitalistic society. On top of that, I am a business owner with 6 locations and 30 employees. And it's the fact that I love my employees so much. It's the fact that I pay my employees way above minimum wage, like almost maximum wage, so that they care about my business. Because I both can't pay them the absolute lowest amount and also expect them to care. So what I would rather do is pay them enough to care, and then I get to buy some of my time back because I don't have to spend all my time worrying about if they care or not. I know that I'm paying them enough to care. So that's really what has happened, is because the employees don't get enough money to care. And the reason they don't have to care is because the employers know that what are they going to do? They cannot go shop somewhere else. So that's really, and then the worst part of it is, unknown soldier, is that those employees that are being underpaid, that do not get paid enough to care, they're getting paid so little that they have to go on medical assistance. Damn, yo. So the companies in our town are underpaying their employees because they can, because there's no competition. They underpay them so much that those employees have to go on medical assistance. We all pay for that. They underpay them so much that the employees have to go on public assistance, on housing assistance. We all end up paying for that, right? And that's really the problem, is that if you're offering that job in the first place, you're not offering that job, you're only offering that job to make more money. So as a business owner, you're like, hey, Ohio, is anybody out there in Ohio that wants to make me more money? Well, if we all had 6 months of savings, if we all had 8 months or 12 months of savings, we would say, no, we're not taking that job until it covers our cost of living. Because why would we take a job that doesn't cover our cost of living? Christian, absolutely. Because if we don't have the ability to say no, they have control over us. If we don't have 6 months of savings in our bank accounts, we have to take that shitty job, right? If we don't have 6 months of savings in our bank accounts, we cannot say no to minimum wage. Well, dirty hands, all the people that are stuck are coming together to fix it, because they make us feel like it's only you, dirty hands. That's why we drop the me's in the chat, because all of us feel like we're alone in this. All of us feel like we did something wrong. That's what pisses me off, dirty hands, is that you're working 40 hours a week, your cost of living is more than your salary, and then they blame you for it. They say, clean energy didn't work hard enough. Clean energy just doesn't know how to budget. Clean energy is just lazy. And that's some goddamn bullshit. Oh my God, I am so sorry about that. So join the Discord, because what we need to do is stop relying on corporations and start relying on each other. But the only way we can start relying on each other is if we stop being strangers, is if we start connecting first. And the way we connect is breaking out by states in the Discord. That's what it really is, state by state, so that you can start building the local action group that you need to start making a difference. Because that's what really this is all about. It is about people working in their local community to make a change, because that's where you can be most effective. Because it only takes 5 or 10 people showing up, not even 3 to 5 people showing up at your local chamber of commerce, showing up at your city council, writing letters to the editor, starting a online consignment shop. Some of this can be businesses. You could be the people that creates community supported agriculture with the farmers. You can call them, hey, can you sell some of this to us instead of the corporations? And think, if you can figure out a way to get the food from the farmer cheaper than at the grocery store, then you can make a little money with the difference, right? If they're selling fruit for $3 a pound and you can get it from the farmer for $1.50 a pound, you can charge $2 a pound and make 50 cents on it. So this stuff isn't all like community and, not making money. You can still be entrepreneurial. It's where all that I think is that every single business idea should also support the effing community. Because without the community, the business wouldn't be there. That's it. That's what businesses forget, is that you can't just take and take and take, because then the thing that you are taking from, has anybody ever read The Giving Tree? That's what the society reminds me of. We are the giving tree. And what it's about is it illustrates a mother as a tree, and the kids keep coming back and taking more and more and more. And it's like we American citizens are that giving tree. And we're down to our stump. And they're saying, we need, I thought you might, if you know the book, we need more from you. We need more from you. We need more from you. So Dirty Hands, what we're doing right now, we are building it out, because we have all these ideas and ways for these local action groups to start making a difference. But we don't want to start harping about that when there aren't local action groups created next. So the first group, we are live every day. We meet every Sunday. We're trying to get about 10 people per state. That would be our first goal, 10 people per state. Because then you actually have enough people to start pushing back against the system, to start building new systems, to start building a community, connecting with each other, finding someone that you like, or even if you can't like, that you can rely on. So that is, yes, that would be great. Because then the goal would be, once we get 10 or 20 in every single state, that's when we will start bringing in our experts. That's why the Sunday 7 p.m. meetings are so important, is because those Sunday at 7 p.m. meetings, that's where somebody goes, hey, I figured out a way to call 10 farmers and get them to sell us food. Then if we can spread that strategy to all of America, then that's how we start making difference. Or if somebody comes in and goes, hey, I've got this direct primary care model where we are done paying for our health insurance, and we're going to pay doctors directly. And there's going to be a group of 10 doctors and nurses in every town, and they will have a pool of patients. They can have no more than 1,000 patients. Each of those 1,000 patients pays $100 a month. And then the money gets split up between the doctors and the nurses. They have their 9 to 5. They do on call every other week. However it is, somebody in America has already set it up, because they said, F this system. It's not working for me. And because we are freaking Americans who our ingenuity will always shine through, we build what we need. We don't say, this system isn't working for me. I'm just going to sit here and complain about it. Why won't this system work for me? No. We're fucking Americans. We stand up and we build what we need. Number one, because complaining won't do anything. And number two, if you're going to demand change, you better be able to back it up and build it yourself. That's what it is. You can't just be like, hey, I want change. Oh, well, what does it look like? I don't know. It's got to be, oh, I want change. Oh, what is it? Here, I've already built it. That's where we have to be, because everyone in America feels this. We all do. We just don't have anything to do about it right now. Everybody wants to take action, but we don't want to do it alone. So we want to take action, but we also want community. We want togetherness. And that's what we are building, action and community. Because that is the only way that we can start relying on each other instead of relying on corporations. Unknown Soldier, appreciate you. Give us a follow. Join the Discord. We're live every day at 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And then we meet every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So live every day, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. In fact, if you're able to, go follow us on YouTube. Terrence, yes, so that's going to be our next step, is I don't want to do it until we have enough people per state. But basically, we're going to be like, yo, we need to take our food back. Who wants to go take some shots at it? We don't know what the exact strategy is. But I bet you if we all put our heads together, we'd figure it out. Living the dream. There would still be a hospital and emergency services. But what it is that is a part of what you are paying. So all the doctors that are in your insurance network or all the little insurance networks across the state, then they all go work in that hospital during certain times. Why do people act like this is not possible to figure out? We used to not have insurance companies. How do you think we got our health care back then? You didn't just wait in line. It didn't just, it was just different. People cared about each other. So, all right. Appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of the day. Join the Discord. Talk to y'all later. YouTube peppers. I don't know what that means. YouTube peppers. So there we go. We got a lot of people in Texas if you want to be a part of this. So what we are doing. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we're not prepping for it because this is our country. We've got to just try to take it back. Prepping would be, it's almost like squirreling away so that you don't have to rely on corporations. But that's not really what it is, because we need to completely reduce our reliance on them completely, because we're the ones that actually produce the food, right? We're the farmers. We're the ones that do the farming. And then we actually are the ones that work for the corporations that show up in the big truck that gets it from the farmers. We're the ones that take it from the farm and put it in the big truck. We're the ones that take the big truck from the farm to the big distribution center. We're the workers that work in the distribution center that prep the food. So that's where it's just, we are the ones that actually make this economy run, but then they actually make the economy work against us rather than for us. And this is what we're trying to change, because we're the ones that make all the food. They're the ones that make all the fucking money off the food. We're the ones that make all the health care. They're the ones that make all the money off the health care. We're the ones that build all the houses. They're the ones that get all the profit. So they're taking these things that we need to live. They aren't luxury items. If they were doing this to radios and televisions and paint, we would just say, okay, we won't buy radios, we won't buy televisions, we won't buy paint. But when they're doing it to things we need to live, food, housing, and healthcare, what are you going to do? Not buy food? What are you going to do? Not buy housing or healthcare? You rely on those things. So when the corporation wants to make more money, when the corporation wants to get richer, all they have to do is raise the prices a little bit. Because what are you going to do? Go somewhere else? You can't do that. What are you going to do? Work somewhere else? You can't do that. They have all the control over you. And that's why we need to stop relying on corporations and start relying on each other, because that's the only way that we will get some of the control back. Oh, is that Eric? What's up, Eric? Yeah, let me get you the Discord. Nice. Thanks, man. Yeah, maybe while we're doing some of the TikToks, you can be like, go follow people on the YouTube channel, because that's where I really think that this will be a better long-term spot for us, because TikTok is so volatile, where if we can get everybody like, all right, YouTube every day, 11 a.m., it should be a bit easier for us, because I feel like YouTube is less sensitive to the political content. But we'll see. You're the man. There we go, everybody. Oh, Golby, I just saw what you wrote. I wasn't close enough to the screen before. That's so funny. But awesome, y'all. We're going to get rolling. Eric, appreciate you so much. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the day. Bye, y'all.